What's going on, everyone? It's Ben Reeve here again from The Hoop Show, and joining me on the show, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paul James. How you going, Paul?
Yeah, too many expertise, but I'll take it.
Take it, mate. Take it when you can. And making her debut on The Hoop Show Sunday night edition is Rach Danderfield. No relation to Patrick Danderfield at all? No?
No relation.
Different person? Completely?
No. Yeah. Long-time listener, first-time guest. Happy to be on the show.
Thank you. I was telling Rach during the week that because I think it was a couple of years, I think I might have come across Rach's Twitter account, and I thought, maybe that Rach is a relation of Patrick Dangerfield or something like that. And clearly, I didn't look at the name properly, but we're glad to have you aboard anyway, Rach.
Happy coincidence, but yeah, no relation.
No, look, I'm glad to have you on board. I'm apologising on behalf of the Geelong football community for getting you on board when we've had a second straight loss, but you can't pick these things in advance, unfortunately.
No.
What were your initial thoughts at staring at a 2-0? We'll start with you, Rach. How did you take that result?
Oddly enough, I found it less disappointing than the week before. I think I was more realistic about where we are at the moment, and missing, 4 premiership backmen is, anyone's going to struggle with that. I think there was a lot to like, and there's a lot of concerns, but more positive after that game than against Collingwood, for sure.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I guess there's some of us that think it's starting to get that way, but the majority of the people, I guess on Cat's Twitter, are probably thinking that it's still a bit of wait and see. That's the space we're in. Paul, what were your initial thoughts? I know you went. I think you didn't go to the game either, did you?
No, I'm still a bit stuck at the moment. It's been a busy 2.5 weeks or so, and to go and pull a game of footy on top might put me in the doghouse. Yeah, I'm actually kind of the opposite, where I feel like I was a bit more disappointed from this one. I know there's obviously all the various circumstances, but I still feel like against the Pies, we still played a more complete game. We didn't do it for long enough at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like it was almost the complete reverse, where we were just off the boil. And actually, it was kind of the Geelong of prior to 2022, that one where they're kind of maybe being pantsed all day. It's not really working, and then they click into gear in the final quarter because they have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit back and go, well, where was this all day? I felt like it was one of those sort of games again. And you could see them trying to wheel and go at points earlier in the game, but it just there wasn't that synergy there, and it clicked in the final quarter. And I think Jeremy Cameron actually summarised it pretty well in a post-game chat. Unsurprising that they all went to him, since he was about the only.
I was going to say,
clear.
Did he play? I wasn't sure.
No.
Was he the only one that
did it
played?
himself.
Actually, yeah.
And he spoke about the fact that the last quarter is exactly what we're looking for. I'm like, okay, cool. So you've found it again. Are you gonna the team going to bring that from moment one against Gold Coast next week, or what are we expecting here? Or they go back in their shell again? It's I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm still not concerned in terms of a long-term thing. I believe in all the stuff that the club's saying, and a lot of us have been saying that it's all clicking. It's all going to click. It's just about getting those pieces together, getting the players back on the paddock again. Your Tom Stewarts, for example, Mitch Duncan, so on and so forth. That's all going to come. I just hope that they don't kind of throw away too much in the meantime while the team slowly comes together.
Yeah, I found it's almost they went into the mindset of last week we played 3 great quarters and fell apart at the end. So this week, let's just play 1 great quarter at the end. The other 3 quarters don't matter. That's
you're
between
right.
the 2 games, they played 1 complete fantastic game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was 4 quarters in between there of absolute mediocrity.
Let's stay on, because we mentioned Jeremy Cameron. Let's gush a little bit about the one. Oh, there's probably more than 1 or 2 good things, but the biggest thing that came out of the night was the Jezza show. He absolutely tore it apart. People were talking about him being the best player in the competition. Nearly single-handedly did it himself, and I wouldn't have been surprised if he actually went 7 or 8 goals that night if he didn't sort of. I don't know if it was a rib injury or a bruising or what it was, but he appeared to be in a significant amount of pain around about halfway through that final quarter, when he was absolutely setting the place on fire. I don't know. I feel like it could have been a different result and maybe he still would have lost, but we were making a big charge, and then all of a sudden it sort of just ended, unfortunately. But you do have to be happy with the fourth quarter, and as you alluded to, Paul, you hope that carries. We carry that form into the next couple of weeks, and it's not just that one-off kind of thing that you bring every now and then, just because you're good enough to win a game in 5 minutes. And some teams are, but I don't know.
Brought that form from the final term against Collingwood into the first three quarters of Carlton, so you kind of hope that if you've snapped back in, like, are you going to bring that with you going into Gold Coast next week and beyond? I guess the positive is, and people are making narratives of the 0-2 and all that sort of thing. We did play two teams that are going to be right up there at the absolute pointy end at the end of the year. You would imagine. I don't enjoy saying that, but you'd imagine. So the next 3 weeks is a bit softer in the sense that we have Gold Coast, we have Hawthorn, we have, I think it's St Kilda, who
West Coast.
I guess West Coast. Sorry, thank you.
Yep, that's right.
A bunch of teams who historically have struggled, and certainly don't have the strongest list at the moment. So, that narrative flips when all of a sudden you're 3-2. Then we play Sydney and we see where it goes from there. But it kind of rights the ship in terms of the scoreboard a little bit, and onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Yeah, I've sort of been in the mindset of I was at the game on Thursday and I had some very rowdy Carlton supporters around me, and one told me, you're not going to make finals, and I was just like, well, mate, how do you deal with it every year?
They would know.
And
they would know.
I think I'm just still in the mindset of course I want to make finals, of course I want to, go, but at the same time, I think I'm just really grateful for what we've got to experience over the last. And if we don't make finals this year, I think we're a little bit spoiled.
Well said, Rach.
How did that person go in the final quarter when all of a sudden the script started to flip?
Disappear.
They were very quiet. They were very
a few
quiet.
Things tightened right up at that point.
Yeah, I don't like to get in people's faces at Geelong games, just because I'm from Colac originally, and going to Geelong every week and sitting by the same people, if you're embarrassing, you have to go and sit with those people the next week. So my mum always was very much, we keep a low profile, but there was definitely some people who'd had a few drinks and wanted to get into it, but it's not really my thing. I try not to bite back, but couldn't resist a cheeky jab there.
Well, you gotta play safe sometimes, don't you? The amount of fights that they have at the MCG. There was another one the other day somewhere.
Collingwood and Port the other day. There was about 4 people ejected. Yeah,
they hit the
arrested. I think they were. I think they were arrested.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone wants to be an MMA fighter or I'm going to get this wrong, Rach. WWF or
WWE.
WWE. You clearly know more about that stuff than I do, but I'm not. I know you're big into that as well as your footy as well. But the couple of other big things that stood out to me. Sorry to just jump around on a bit of a tangent. Is the thing that I actually got off the couch. I was jumped about 10 foot in the air. Was the Gary Rowan 70-meter bomb. I think that was in.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe it. I was making I don't know what I was doing. I was getting a beer out of the fridge or something like that. And then Beck, my partner, starts screaming. And I turned around and it's like sailing through. And loved that. It was great.
Yeah, I
that'd be great.
Sorry. I think Gary's career at Geelong is going to be summed up by not by consistency, but by a matter of very beautiful moments. So I think we've got, that mark and goal last year. We've got the kick after the siren and that 70-meter bomb. And I think there hasn't been a whole lot of consistently great football. He always plays this role, but some pretty special moments from Gary.
Yeah, a lot of great tackling pressure moments. But yeah, you're right. There's like 3 really big moments, signature moments that when it's all said and done for him and he's finished up with the Cats, whether it's this year or next or, maybe the year after, we'll see. I personally think it'll probably be this year. We'll see the back of him. Not the back of him, but the end of Gary. I think he's been a great get at the club and he's not a 4-quarter player. It's not really his role. I don't know, how would you... when it's all said and done, Paul, how would you rate Gary Rowan's Geelong career? I think we've got a pretty good version of him coming from the Swannies.
No, I think Rach summarised it really well there. He's a man of moments. He bobs up, hopefully at key times, but he bobs up and does some spectacular things, and then he can go quiet for a while. And you just kind of sit back and you hope that those moments are at all the right times. And he's, as Rach again summarised with a few perfect examples there. I mean, the kick from the other night was obviously kind of a random point in a more random game, but the Collingwood final last year, he broke that game open. He's won us a game after the siren. It's not the first time he'd done that as well, because he did one over in Sydney as well.
That's right.
So, and I think he's like one of only about 3 or 4 players who've actually won the game after siren multiple times. So, like, it's a fair collection of moments already. I'm not sure that I'm totally subscribed to the idea that he'll be done at the end of in terms of the starting 23, that he'll be done at the end of the year. I know obviously we've got that next crop that are pushing through with the Ollie Henry kind of at the head of it, at that end of the field. But I think because of what he can do and that speed that he has not lost, well, for as long as he has that, he has value, because he will always create that intense tackling pressure as a result. And his hands are solid. His kick, like, there's few players that kick a set shot as well as him. Now he sprayed one in the final term.
He hasn't lost that at all.
But those key assets that he brings haven't deteriorated at all. And I think for as long as those remain intact, then he probably still earns his spot.
And I think no matter what, he's taking a good defender, regardless of how well he's playing. He's taking a good defender, which really opens up the doors for, Brad Close and Tyson Stengel. And I think that's what worked so well last year, is that we had these 3 big boys taking all the good defenders, and that just leaves so much open for our smaller guys.
Yeah. Do you think the Ollie Henry, Gary Rowe, I mean, maybe you don't think they're similar players. I personally do. Do you think there's room for both of them in the side when the whips are cracking at the end of the year, or do you think at the moment we're just giving them both a run? Have either of you got a position on that, or has it not really been a thought? Or
I don't think Gary's position is in threat at the moment. I think Ollie needs some more experience. There's definitely like a lot of natural flair there, and a lot of natural talent, but he needs some size and he needs some polishing. And I think that Gary might be a perfect person to help him, break into the Geelong style. But I don't think Gary's position is in jeopardy at this stage.
Yeah, I'm the same when it comes to Gary, and then when it comes to Ollie, I'm thinking of the players who are out at the moment, and unless I'm blinking on someone that I'm making a horrible mistake, I'm not thinking of anyone who is a replacement for Ollie Henry at the moment.
No,
I feel like our defense is obviously a bit depleted, but I can't think of anyone who's that's the person that comes in, and Ollie Henry unfortunately has to fall out, or Gary Rowan unfortunately has to fall out. I feel like both of them are. The forward line is kind of safe at the moment. The only problem that we're having, I feel like, in the forward line at the moment, it's not even a significant one, is that Hawk is still just clearly a bit underdone and just needs time. At the moment.
Time in the
There's been some saying he needs a rest. I don't buy into that narrative, because he's. I mean, yes, that kick to Cameron came awfully close to the boundary line, regardless of which side of the fence you sit on in terms of the actual result there. But like, his ground kicking has been sensational, and he's still, like, on a couple of occasions he dealt with Wiedering. Wiedering's also an opponent that just seems to have had the wood on Hawk in recent years. Like, he'll kick his 1 or 2, but he's never has a big breakout against Carlton. You even think last year, like, Cameron did all the damage again.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't really buy into that. And I reckon it all goes away when not that Sam Collins for Gold Coast is any sort of mug. In fact, he's a genuinely fantastic defender.
Handy.
But when Hawkins maybe kicks 3 next week, hopefully more, but he kicks 2 to 3 next week, all that chatter goes away.
Yeah, maybe. Now I think you were talking about Gary Rowan before, about him spraying one, and I was about to segue there, because you know what, Paul, I love a segue. I love a segue. I was going to talk about. I thought it was a great opportunity to talk about Jack Bowes. Making that charge, and I feel bad about bringing it up, and I really do, because it's his first game, and I leaned over to my partner and I said, it'd be bad if he misses this, because all the Cats fans will just turn on him, because he's had a really good game. Well, I thought he had a pretty good game. I won't give away my votes, but I thought he had a pretty good game, and I just felt bad for the guy that he missed that, and that would have just had that momentum kept going. You never know what could have happened. But overall, Rach, how would you say the new guys, and probably Cooper White, I think he got a touch, but he came on really late. Probably more so Bowes. How would you say he went?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him, and I think I'm very realistic with just the young-bodied nature of these players, going up against big, full-grown men. I think he was really impressive. unpolished.
Yes.
Certainly a lot to improve on, but really impressed with him and with Bruin and Ollie in patches. I think he's had patches of great. I was really impressed with his first half. On Ollie's first half on Thursday. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and I think that there's a lot of size to be gained in the body, a lot of strength to
the
be able to
maturity that
stand up.
comes from playing season after season.
Yeah, not being like a 20-year-old anymore as well, like physically. So yeah, a lot to like. I also have been calling him Jack Bowies. Yeah, and my boyfriend has not corrected me at all. I think he thinks it's funny. So
is it Bose? I don't know.
it's definitely Bose.
Okay.
I've been thinking of Jake Bowie or Jake.
The Melbourne
That's
fella?
yeah.
Jack
So
Bauer.
Yeah.
yes, I've definitely been thinking of Jack Bauer.
Just a little cheeky 24 reference.
Jack Bows never go back. Is that what it is? I don't know. Is that the Jack Reacher one? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Never.
I think I was pretty happy with his game. Yes, there was a few missed kicks, and obviously there was the set shot at kind of a really pivotal time that I'm sure he's disappointed by, and I don't think really it needs to be discussed any more than that. But also, all credit to the coaching staff who, when they're doing their media rounds at the end, they knew that like Cats fans were going to kind of focus in on that point because it's obviously a kind of key moment in the game there that unfortunately didn't work for us. And who knows what would happen had he kicked the goal. He did play a great game afterwards, and they got out in the front foot and they acknowledged that fact and made sure that he was celebrated for all the other things that he did. And that it wasn't about, look, he'll be disappointed and, whatever, we'll pull up the socks and go again next week. They really honed in on the good stuff, which I think for someone like that who has come from a cellar-dwelling club, who's kind of, in and out and kind of in a really tricky spot towards the end of his time there, and then walks into a team who's just won the premiership, and there's no guarantee at all that you're going to get a regular game. That's exactly what a player like that wants to hear. So I just wanted to kind of acknowledge the coaching staff and what they've said in the media rounds afterwards there, because it was really, really awesome. Because I thought he played a good game. Again, a couple slight miss kicks, but he was there beating his opponent when it counted, and it was just a case of a little bit of execution at the end. That every player has that early season rust.
That's right. We've had 4 new faces in the squad this year, which I personally think is making it a little bit. It's affecting the chemistry a little bit, and I think it's a good time to do it. I suppose if you don't want to bring new faces in at the back end of a season, I guess. But I imagine that and the injuries has played some part in. And look, we haven't been terrible. I was thinking about this the other day. We just lost to Collingwood, and look how good they are. And we were in front most of the... I actually still can't believe we lost that game to Collingwood, considering how well we were going. And we weren't far off it against Carlton, 8 points in the end. So it's not... We could have been 2-0 if things had gone slightly different, even with all the injuries and even with all the new faces. So, but I think that is playing a role. The Cooper Whites, the Jack Bowes, Tanner Bruin, and Ollie Henry. And who knows, maybe Jai Clark will get a game soon. Maybe Ted Closey kicked 3 goals in the VFL. There's probably a couple. Ollie Dempsey was tried a lot in the preseason, so maybe not that he's a new face necessarily, but he hasn't had a lot of exposure to the men's team, and the senior team haven't really played a lot with him either. So I guess that's playing a role in it as well. Now, look, guys, it's the first time we've been 0-2 since 2015, and we're the first premier to start 0-2 since 2009. I think we touched on
Sucked in Hawthorn.
But look, I'm not worried. I think if we're 2-2, that's exactly where we were last year. I don't think we need to worry. What are you worried, Rach? I don't think you are. I think you're pretty chill about the whole thing, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just. I think I'm annoying people a little bit because I'm in the mindset of, well, if we don't make finals, we won a premiership. If you went back to the start of last year and said, hey, you guys are going to win the premiership this year.
Yeah.
You're not going to make finals next year.
Yep.
Who would have said, no, I don't want that? No.
No.
But it's just so hard to say because we've had such a mismatch of, last week it looked like Essendon were up and firing, and then really in reality they were just playing Hawthorn, and we saw them.
They nearly threw it away against Gold Coast today in the end.
Hang on, they're a top 4 team, and I won't hear otherwise. So anyway, keep going. Sorry.
I'm an Essendon sympathiser, so I think there's a lot to see, and we have played 2 quality oppositions at their home ground, regardless of whether or not week 1 was our home game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't go
So
there.
we've got,
Did you notice the Collingwood banner when it came to that? Like they even pointed that out in their banner.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I found it. I
That's
found it odd that they went with the Destination Geelong, and my mum said something along the lines of Destination Geelong. That's a really funny joke where our players farm and surf and yours get done with coke. So,
Well, it's rent free in Geelong if you're a Collingwood supporter. You can live it. We live in your head rent free. There you go. So,
so I think that there's just so many pieces to fall in place that I have no idea. And if we don't make it, it's just not the end of the world to me.
Yeah. I'm the same.
Look, there's obviously been the chatter, like the premiership hangover thing obviously gets trotted out in the media thing, and it's a normal thing that they're going to go with because it's good for clicks and that sort of thing. I don't necessarily buy into the hangover idea, but I will question, at least for a little while, the whole intensity thing. And I mean, it's one of those that I guess the 2022 premiership was a very different premiership to what most other teams win. That's not to kind of degrade any other team and any other grand final even Geelong has won. But this was a 10-year journey that they got so close to so many times. There is a natural exhale that comes after that. And, that there might still be a degree of that they're not, the desire's not disappeared, but there's a processing of all that, and there's a readjusting. There's then trying to get your head back in the game again. Like that is natural, especially when it has been such an ordeal to get to that point, and there's been so many near misses. But naturally, your head just takes a little while to try and get back in the game. So I'm not too concerned, because as soon as we start getting close to that point later in the year, you reckon they're going to get a sniff for it and won't try and double up.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd have to think so. I think that they'll start getting sick of this losing business, and they'll want to get back on the winners list pretty soon, and they'll remember how fun it is to win a game of footy. Look, let's get into some votes. Is there anything else you want to touch on that I haven't covered across? Any key things from the night that I've missed? I know a couple of people on Twitter saying we're looking rusty, panicking.
Can we shut down the Dangerfield? Can we?
Yes,
Dangerfield?
Yes, I want to shut.
Commentary around Danger.
I'm happy. You and I are happy to shut that down. Rachel, you're welcome to have a difference of opinion on the leadership debate going on or raging in socials at the moment about Danger. I think it just goes to what Paul said earlier around there's just that slight intensity drop off, and Danger's not immune to that either. I think we'll see him come out, and everyone will just go, "Oh shit, I can't believe I was questioning Danger's motivations and willingness to throw his body in." I don't know. What thoughts, Rach, on that? Are you thinking we've made the wrong decision? Clearly, it would have been interesting if we picked Stewart, but
I don't think Stewart's ready, to be honest. And I think Stewart last year is coming off a lot of justified negative press for both his big suspension and also his little mishap on grand final day.
He'll never live that down. He will never.
They put a great video together for Channel 7 back in round 1. That was brilliant, I might add.
Yeah, they've got the Auskick. He's part of the Auskick commercial now, which is great. I don't think Stewart's ready, to be honest. And I think not only is Patrick Dangerfield the only reasonable choice, I think he deserves it. I think that he has, ever since coming to the club, he's very rarely put a foot wrong. And he obviously has, loved the club since he was a child. I think he was the only choice.
Yeah.
And it's definitely I feel like a Cameron Ling style appointment, where it will be for a short period and for a transitional period, until the natural fit takes over, and whether that is Stewart
or someone else.
Yeah.
Who would you want it to be if it wasn't Stewart? Let's say it's a mid-20s type player. Who would you want that to be?
Look, if Patrick holds on to it for this season and next season, I can definitely see someone like Brad Close stepping up. If it's something that he's, I want a captain for the long term. I'm not interested too much in having, like a 31, 32-year-old captain coming in for 2 years.
Not back to back.
I want someone who's going to take the club. I think I underestimate how blessed we were that Joel Selwood was ready to be captain at 23 years old or whatever he was. So that's what I would like to see again, is someone young who's going to take the club into the next generation.
Jai Clark's a bit too young for you. Year number 2, Paul. Are you?
Yeah. I mean, maybe again,
Jai, and everyone else out there that comes at me for being, just let the boy play. I am joking. I'm thinking way down the track, but I'd go for someone like a Tommy Atkins, I reckon. What about you, Paul?
So I'm of the mind that Danger deserves at least a few years, at least until he's no longer either up to it or it's for the best that we move on. But I wouldn't rule out, and I think just because of that age profile with someone like a Jai Clark, if he turns out to be the player that he is speculated to be, and that is a big if in and of itself. But even like a Max Holmes, there's such an early point in their career, and I feel like Max is like one that's got a big neon sign sticking above him that says like this is captain material. But he at his age, like he's not necessarily demonstrating that same leadership that Joel did. He has the potential, I think. So
I think so, yeah.
For him, it might need to be mid-20s. So do you have Danger do the job for 2 to 3, whatever it is? Maybe he retires, maybe he steps back from it, and maybe you end up having someone like a Tom Stewart then do it for another, like the equivalent period for them, maybe 2 more years. It becomes like this 5-year arc. But at that point, someone like a Jai Clark or a Max Holmes is ready to step in.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, maybe we don't see 2 of those players that are kind of filling in, as derogatory as that sounds to Danger and anyone else, but like it's that transitional period.
Caretaker.
Because can't rule out like a Sam De Koning even. Like you see the leadership from him as well. He's in that same sort of age profile again though, so it might be a case of we just need 4 to 5 rather than 2 to 3 before that next young player is ready to go.
It could even be someone who hasn't played yet, like a Toby Conway or something like that.
Exactly.
You never know, do you? So let's do some votes. Hey, let's do some. It's not going to be a big mystery who gets the 3 votes from each of us. I'm pretty sure, but I'll go first. All right. I have gone, surprise, surprise, shocker, Jeremy Cameron with the 3 votes. I know that's going to throw everyone. Isaac Smith, I gave the 2 votes to. And I'm actually not reading out your votes this week, Paul. I did that the first episode. I don't know how I did that. And my 1 vote I'm giving to the Axe himself, Mr. Tom Atkins. Paul, who have you got for your 3, 2, and 1?
Cameron at 3, again, unsurprisingly. You can't ignore a game like that. And then for me, it was Holmes and Blixarves with 2 and 1. Holmes just played a really good contested game inside and out throughout the course of the day and didn't lower his colours. And Blixarves for a very similar reason. It was just that I think the fact that he was kind of chopped and changed as the needs of the game evolved, that kind of made me the focus on him a little less as the game played out. But he was squashing Cripps really well for the bulk of the time, and then unfortunately had to shift roles because Stanley got injured and was even just struggling to perform in the ruck prior to that as well.
Yeah.
And so he started being used in other capacities, which then kind of offset the enormous pros that he was bringing in that tagging role against Cripps. So deserves the 1, and unfortunately could have been more, but the needs of the game kind of dragged him elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Rach, what did you go with? Oh, I know, but tell the viewers and the listeners if you're listening.
So also went Jay Cameron 3 votes. I wouldn't be surprised if on Brownlow night we also hear Jay Cameron 3 votes. I think he was absolutely incredible and just really stepped up. Not only did he kick 6-1 or 6-2 or whatever he got, but he was just so far up the ground.
Oh, wasn't he? Everywhere.
Saved the day in defense a couple times.
Yep. And for 2 votes, Zach Guthrie for me. I just felt he was everywhere again, and he's just been. I was a big Zach Guthrie critic for many years.
Me too.
And I remember seeing a photo of him in the weights room at the start of last year, and was like, well, it's now or never. And he has continued to impress me. Just got an Atkins-ness about him. Where he's just going really hard. Yeah, really hard with the ball.
An Atkinsness. I love that.
Yeah. I think I thought Tom Atkins was everywhere at some point, but I realized I was just getting confused with Guthrie. So it was just, it would have been Atkins, but then I couldn't split what was Atkins and what was Guthrie. And 1 vote for me was Isaac Smith, just very dependable. Not a whole lot of flashiness, but just great consistency throughout the whole game. Probably one of the few players who played a solid 4 quarters.
Well, he's played almost a solid 8 quarters, really. Let's go even further, solid 12 quarters. He's been pretty good in the last 3 games for the Catters. Now, the leaderboard of the Brad Close medal is as follows. And I'm going to use my little graphic here. I know you both can't see it. That's why I'm going to read the scores out. In first position with 9 votes is Jeremy Cameron, all from the 1 game. Coming second is Big Baby Muscles himself, Zach Guthrie, with 7 votes. I love Baby Guthrie. Numbers in third position is Isaac Smith with 6 votes. In fourth position is Tom Atkins with his 4 votes. And a bit of a tie, but I've put in 3 votes. I've got Asava Radigalia in 5th position. He's when you get to that 5th and 6th and 7th, it gets pretty close. So, but Jezza is leading the way early in the Brad Close medal round 2. I'm sure it'll chop and change a little bit as the weeks go by. But yes, we haven't, and I haven't got the Brad Close medal. I haven't created the medal yet, but I have to sort of figure out how I'm going to do that, and have to somehow get in touch with Brad, because we want him to award the medal at the end of the year. Now, should the Brad Close medal go all the way to the end of finals or at the end of the home and away? That's a question I'll put to the both of you. I'm happy to keep going for as long as we're playing, a bit like the Cargie Greaves medal. Just as long as we're playing, we keep giving the votes. No detractors, no.
I mean, if you want Brad to award the person, I worry that if we happen to go the whole way, you've got no chance of awarding that medal at the end if we win a grand final, or if we lose a grand final for that matter.
We'll see. We'll see. I can dream, can't I? I want to get Brad on the show at some point on Paul's Behind the Play show, if we can. But I've got to try again. I'll keep trying. It's a little harder during the business end of the season when you're actually playing. Pre-season's the best time to get players on. But thankfully, we've had a few come on throughout the year. All right, I want to go through a couple of tweets. I'll go through 3 tweets. Now, the first one is from Who That Then? It looks like we can't get out of third gear. Our pressure is off and a number of players down on their normal standard. Cameron looks like he has a rib injury, ? No need to panic yet, but a bit to think about. What do we think about that one?
Has there been anything out of the club about Cameron's health post-game yet?
I'm waiting to see if the baby's come. I haven't heard anything.
I haven't even heard of that baby yet. And there was no speculation about that going into this week at all. So I just assumed, okay, maybe there's just... And it's not on them at all to announce it publicly. They don't owe anyone anything in that respect. It's private. But I figured it might have just bubbled top. Okay, he's had the kid. You don't have to worry about him missing the next game or whatever the case was. But nothing so far. And yeah, when it comes to the injury front, they've not said anything yet. So I'm a little concerned, especially about the ribs. But he played it out pretty well despite that. So fingers crossed.
I would dare say he won't play this weekend, just purely on the fact that we are traveling. It's one thing to make a trip down the highway if you get the call from the missus, but it's a whole other thing to fly down from Gold Coast. It's not considered a risky game. I know we'll probably talk about the ins and outs in a little bit, but I don't see Jeremy Cameron playing this weekend.
Look, you make a really good point, Rach. I hadn't actually thought about it, but you're right. If he's got a bit of a sore rib, and let's say the baby comes 2 days before the game, I don't know. If I'm a new dad, I'd probably want to stay with the new baby, even though it's not you're not there. I don't know. It's his job though to play AFL footy, and he gets paid very well for it. But I don't know. I mean, it looks like Paul's. Are you on the Google machine there, Paul?
I'm just googling around to see if I can.
I think it's more along the lines of if the baby doesn't come. You can't really be flying off to Queensland because he's openly said that he'll be going.
Good point.
So.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's at. But look, who knows? Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's good to go. All right, I'm going to jump into the next. While you're on that Google machine, Paul, I'm going to go to the next.
Or it just says it's somewhere between round 1 and round 2. So
there you go. Okay. All right.
I don't think a child will be the reason why he's unavailable this week. I suspect.
Okay. Now, Dave Twist, Twisty says, last year was built on a sturdy backline and small forwards that hunt the ball and player. Unfortunately, the backline is depleted. Sav has been good, and the small forwards aren't firing and not putting pressure on. Plus, once again, Stanley is going through one of those bad patches. What do we think about... Let's start with the Stanley. Do you buy into that he's maybe not the prime Reece Stanley at the moment, and... If he's copped a bit of a knock, I don't know I think he copped something in the gut. Is he another one maybe that's likely to have a bit of a spell, and maybe we see Jonathan Segler come in possibly?
Segler's apparently been playing pretty well in the seconds, hasn't he?
Not sure.
I thought he'd been doing okay, and I definitely think, and I mean, I guess I kind of touched on it a little bit before. Stanley hasn't been performing overly well in these first 2 games, and then got an injury there. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility that he is rested and trying to recover and get himself right for maybe round 4, while Jono Segler pops up and hopefully has a fantastic game.
Yeah, I think with Blitzards having to play more of a back role and not being able to be that ruck support as much has really affected Stanley. I think it's put a lot more pressure on Stanley that we maybe haven't had, and it has exposed him a little bit, but also it's not their game style to have Stanley as the prime ruckman the whole game.
It's not, is it?
No. So that's really been affected, I think, by the back line injuries.
It's almost like it's like 40 to 50%. You've got Blitzarves taking his turn every now and then down the forward line, it's completely Hawkins, isn't it? So,
yeah.
And then Blitzarves or Stanley is kind of like that second big down that end or whatever. So, but it seems to have been he's had a lot more to do, and Hawkins can't seem to jump over a can of baked beans at the moment. He can't get off the ground.
I mean, Hawk doesn't jump in the ruck contest. What are you talking about?
No, but he just can't seem to, he doesn't have much lift at all, or much power at the moment. So, but that'll come in time, hopefully, if our medical team sort of looks after him. What else was there in the question there? What about the small forwards not putting pressure on? Do you agree with that? I mean, I think Stingle's been pretty good. He hasn't probably had the same return after a couple of games like he had last year, but I think he's been pretty. I love watching Stingers go about it. He seems to be so balanced and poised, and he executes really well. He just needs to stop giving away those 50-metre penalties. But
I think that's all it was really. Discipline was maybe a bit of discipline and over enthusiasm in some of those attempts. I mean, we'll ignore that there was a couple frees that absolutely shouldn't have been paid against him in the front half and then resulted in the 50. But I guess that's just the rub of the green sometimes. But yeah. I've got no concerns with Stengel. Myers, I'm just trying to work through the smalls now.
And we love you, Brian Myers. So
but I'm not overly concerned with how he's performed so far. I think the thing with both him in particular actually is just that hitting that scoreboard that little bit more. Like he really gets around the ground. He covers a lot of kilometers.
Sure does.
But he's just not quite hitting the scoreboard at the moment. And again, I think there's dynamic things. You toss Ollie Henry in there. You have a Hawkins who's slightly down. All of those sorts of, and Cameron who's needing to kind of save the day for us a bit at the moment. And if he gets the ball, he's more likely than ever at the moment to probably have a shot, especially considering he's running unbelievably hot. He's kind of I feel like he's a little bit lost at the moment. And then Brad Close, actually, I think I've been pretty happy with so far. So
really,
he's just been kind of in the wrong position a couple of times, but you can see him like getting around. He's collecting the overlap. He's especially going forward. He's been in the right spots. Maybe he's missed a few opportunities to kind of bring that defensive pressure, but going forward, I feel like he's been in a great overlap spot on a few occasions, and perhaps either hasn't been rewarded for that, or has in fact been a part of that chain.
I've actually been a little bit disappointed with Brad Close over the last 2 weeks. As someone he's my favourite player.
Me too.
My partner actually got me a cameo from him from Valentine's Day to say Happy Valentine's Day, and he apologised for wearing the no sleeves against Essendon last year. So I love Brad, but I have such high standards for him because he is such a remarkable player, and he's definitely been lacking the 1%ers that were so integral last season, like the tap-ons to the bigger forwards, and haven't seen him hitting the scoreboard the way that
he did do a tap-on in the Carlton game. I can't remember the exact play, but there was a tap there. I was like, oh yeah, that's closey. But you're right. I'm completely with you, Rach. I love the guy. Love him. I'm sure he's not watching, but if you are watching, Brad, we love you, and we love that you've got the sleeves back on. But he's probably one for me that's really, really started the season slowly, and I don't doubt that he'll get back to his best. I think he's a little bit off where he was at the end of last year.
Yeah, I think he's playing his role. He's just not, up here where I think he was our most underrated player of last year. And I think that, we're just lacking that at the moment. And to be honest, it's probably got to do with the different way the ball is coming into the forward 50 and things like that.
Good point, Rach. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's totally fair. Let's go to the next tweet, the third and final tweet of the week. Todd Nikolic says, missing Stewart and Duncan big time. Back half, totally disorganised. Got better as the game went on. Hopefully knocked a bit more rust off. If they can get it to click, we'll still be there when it matters. Yeah, I think that's a fair call there from Todd. I think it's just things just aren't clicking at the minute, but give it a bit of time and get some pieces back. We should be okay.
I think a bit of it when it comes to the backline. Oh, sorry, go on, Rach.
No, I was just going to say, I think people are also underestimating how much we're missing Jack Henry. I think Tom Stewart is the biggest miss. Jack Henry is number 2, for me anyway. That's the big hole. I think that we can go without Stewart or Henry, like we did for a lot of last year, but not having both. Yeah.
And you're losing the swingman in Henry as well, that he can go forward and so we don't have that option anymore. Who do we swing forward now? Blitzhouse is probably the only one, but he plays everywhere, doesn't he? So,
and I'd argue a big piece of that coming out of defence as well is Mitch Duncan. Since he's been playing that half-back role, his disposal is arguably the best on the team, and the fact that he's not there, there's been a fair few dump kicks of late, like just get it out and just hoist it onto the boot and get it out of there. But if he's got ball in hand, that tends not to happen. Or he they get him free so that he can then run 10 and put it straight onto someone's chest. And so I think him missing in that sense, like, they've defended okay, but then when they go to launch the next attack from that end of the ground, they're not disposing of it overly well. So I think that's a big miss there for us as well. And I think the thing I think that came to bite us a little bit on Thursday night when it comes to the defensive end was they were probably a bit too slow to pull the trigger on the swap between Asava and Sam DeConing.
Yeah.
I think Asava had 4 maybe kicked on him by the time they finally flipped things over. That was, I think that was a coaching call, but I think he was getting towed up by Charlie, and I just think they could have pulled that trigger earlier because certainly once Sam was flipped onto him, Sam was winning the contest.
Yeah.
Sam actually came into the game more at that point because obviously Charlie is their go-to. No disrespect to Harry Mackay, but Charlie's the go-to, and Sam had his measure.
And Charlie can win you a game in the blink of an eye, and he nearly did that last year as well. He had 3 goals through a quarter and a bit, and we locked him down after that. But he got off the leash a little bit more this time as well. Let's go around the grounds. Actually, and I missed a perfect segue when we were talking about Closey before, because Closey loves the show, don't you, Paul? He always wants people to subscribe to the Hoop Show. So we've got to bring up the Closey graphic here. So everyone, if you haven't already subscribed, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Join the family, get on board, and if I can get rid of Closey, there you go. Thanks, Closey. Join on board. What are we, 660 something at the moment? We're nearly there. We've climbed a fair bit thanks to the AFL 23 stuff 23. And all that. That's given us a bit of a lift. And
stay tuned, people.
I think this panel show, I don't want to blow our own trumpet too much, but I think it's going pretty well. It's nice to have other than just me talking to a camera, it's nice to have a conversation with some good Geelong people. Let's go around the grounds though. And I believe there is a game in progress at the moment, which I'm sure Paul's tracking. It's over. It's all done. I'm pulling up.
But it's done.
I'm pulling up the graphic for our other games. I think West Coast was about 5 goals in front when I last checked.
I changed that tip last minute. I think it was 5 minutes before the game. And I was like, when in doubt, when you've got either two excellent teams or 2 average teams, when in doubt, go the home team.
I agree.
And I changed it last minute and I'm...
Good for you.
I work with a few fuddy-duddies that, my work footy tipping one is still very old school. You submit your tips before the round and that is it. It drives me mad because I absolutely would have gone the exact same way as you and changed my mind. And I couldn't.
I like changing it up until the last minute.
At the moment, 31 points. So
all right, bringing the graphic up again. Clearly, we know the Cats lost by 8 points. Brisbane defeated Melbourne. Melbourne made a very big comeback there, and we'll. I think what happened there, Max? The lights went out. Does anyone know? Was it in sync or?
Have they come back on yet?
5, I think is what you're going with.
5. There you go. Thank you. We're on the same wavelength there. Maybe when the lights go out. Anyway, so yes, that happened, and Melbourne nearly got over the line there, but not quite. Left it a bit too late. Magpies looked very, very good against Port Adelaide. Which was billed as a bit of a blockbuster game, that one, but absolutely smashed Port.
But also, they're clown supporters. If they can just leave Jason Horne-Francis alone, seriously, you got nothing to do with this scenario.
100. And how good does Nick Dacos look? And Willie win the Brownlow?
It's frightening,
unbelievable. We didn't talk about Max Gawn doing an injury as well, but he's only out for 4 weeks, so that's not too bad.
I think he has a very similar thing to Tom Stewart. I think they said.
Oh, okay.
He's medial, yeah.
Right. Okay. So we had Richmond getting the job done against Adelaide, even though it was a furious comeback there
Yes,
from Adelaide.
yeah.
Wasn't there? It was like, I thought, oh, this is exciting, because I always get a little bit excited when Richmond's about to lose.
It was very much a young team
Yes.
scenario where like they came surging to the game and ran out of petrol tickets and just couldn't keep
Yes.
going.
Nathan Broad looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble for his sling tackle on Patrick Parnell, so that could be a bit of a worry for him. The Saints defeated the Bulldogs by a fair bit, about 51 points. Mateus Philippou, he kicked I think it was one of the early draftees from last year. He did really well with his 3 goals, so he'd be pretty happy with himself. And unfortunately, Jack Steele secured a captain's out for 4 or 6 weeks with a broken collarbone, so it's a bit of a shame. They're not having a hell of a lot of luck with injuries, but they're still performing very, very well.
Just on your Nathan Broad thing, he's actually been sent directly to the tribunal.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, there you go. Interesting. Who else we got? North. This is the one we probably should spend a minute or two talking about. I'd love to hear your viewpoints. We might start with Rachel. The free kick that wasn't paid on the siren, or maybe before the siren, that didn't allow Fremantle to have a shot at goal when they were a point down. Did you see? Have you caught up with that, Rachel? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I actually watched the game. I'm a North sympathiser.
Yes.
I love North Melbourne. I love a struggling Victorian club. But I once I read the explanation that the ball had not been called out by the time the siren went, even though it was over the line. I understood the thing. I also think if you're kicking 10 goals 12, I don't think one free kick is what cost you the game. I think it's your 12 behinds that cost you the game. The example I used was I'm rabbiting on him. The example I used is in 2021 we played Sydney in Sydney, and there was a very obvious free kick, a mark to Jeremy Cameron that was not paid.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
I walked away. I walked away from that game thinking we kicked about 16 behinds. I don't think that free kick is what cost us the game.
Yeah, you're a more mature person than I am. I lost my shit, and I still haven't gotten over it. Paul, any thoughts? I think probably with Rach after seeing this, it's not a free kick until it's paid a free kick, and if it hasn't gone over the boundary line, that was my feel on it in the end. After seeing it
100%.
days later, like yes, the intention was there, but you haven't committed an act yet, so it's not. What's that movie?
I'm more just awing at the power of Alistair Clarkson again.
Yeah, well, he finds a way. He does find a way.
When he was on the boundary line like this, I was on the floor. I don't like Alistair Clarkson, but gosh, he had me laughing.
And look, I don't like him, but he's a good coach. He's a real good coach.
I've just looked at my other camera, Rach. The viewers can't tell. You've got the old retro, the woolen Guernsey on too. So
yeah, the long sleeve.
It's a cracker, that one. It's a
bit itchy. Tell you what, I don't know how people played football in this. And I dusted this out. I reckon this is about circa 2010. This nice. Beanie.
Nice.
So I couldn't find my my nicer ones, but I was like, oh no, I'll bust out the
special treat for the show. Very good. We're lucky. A couple more games. Swannies absolutely torched the Hawks, which I'm very happy about. Good on the Swannies for. A lot of people probably didn't write them off completely, but thought they might have a backward step this year. The Dons did the right thing by the host of the Hoop Show and keep winning and keep cementing their spot in the top 4. And we know they're going to go all the way and finish. They're not. We've got the Suns next week, so that was a good game to see them smash each other a little bit. And as we said, I think the Eagles are going to get the job done against the Giants. And my footy tipping is absolutely rat shit, but that's okay. Absolutely going terrible in the hoops tipping competition at the minute. I'm not sure how you're going in the high flyers comp there, Rach, but I don't think I'm doing well on anything at the moment. So you probably shouldn't. I'm going to do a tipping video every Wednesday, but anyway, don't trust my tips because I'm useless and I listen to my cat way too much. Not that he.
I think I'm number one.
Number one.
I'm number one, definitely in the high roller.
There you go.
Hoops, but I'm not. I'm definitely top 2 in the other one as well. So. I've had a good couple of weeks.
And when we say high roller, we mean $10 entry. But most people like the old free comp. That's fine, totally fine as well. What else did I miss? Oh, I was going to ask you a question about the North Freo game. What odds? And it's not about gambling, but what odds is North going to win the Rising Star, Harry Sheasel, the Coleman Medal for Nick Larkey, and the Brownlow Medal for Luke Davies-Uniacke? Did I get that right? Is that a possibility in this universe at the end of the year?
It all falls over when you talk about the Coleman.
Really? You don't rate Larky?
Oh no, but like I would pick just several players before him. That's all.
Okay.
I rate him, but there's Cameron, there's Curnow, there's Tom Lynch, there's several before him. Hawkins.
It'll go under the radar as well because it was a bit of a nothing game. But Carl Langford kicked 5 today.
He did.
It was, yeah.
Logan McDonald for Sydney kicked 5 as well.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. The Coleman's going to be hard. I think the Brownlow's going to be hard too. But gosh, Sheasel is a star.
I can't see at this stage. I can't see Sheasel losing it. Look, Marcus Ashcroft. Is it Marcus? Is that his dad? I can't remember. I got that right. The Ashcroft kid. He's going all right too in his second game. But Harry Sheasel, he's had 30 touches in both games so far. You can't knock the bloke. He's done very, very well. All right, that will. Where am I up to on my run sheet here, Paul? I think I'm up to. We might have to chat about the Gold Coast game now. Rachel, you've got a foot in both camps. Probably more so in the Geelong camp, but you do love an underdog. And
my cat's a Gold Coast supporter.
Your cat is a Gold Coast supporter.
Yeah.
Very good. So I'm just going to read through some notes on where we're up to with the last couple of times we've played Gold Coast. So we've beaten them the last 6 goes by an average of well over 50 points in that stretch. Our last game was up there in around 22-22, where the Catters won by 60 points. And I think that game actually sealed the minor premiership for us as well. Now, what I tried on this show last week, it was just me and Anna Pav, is I got her to tell me why Carlton was going to win. Rather than why Geelong was going to win. So the honour this week goes to Paul. I want you to tell me why Gold Coast is going to beat Geelong, and then Rachel, I want you to tell me why Geelong's going to beat Gold Coast. Paul, you.
So Gold Coast will beat Geelong because
You have to convince the viewers, Paul.
the Cats team is going to capitulate with injury. That's about all I've got. No, I mean they've got a great young core, so. If it's one of those cases, if they all fire on any given week, they can challenge some of the best teams. I mean, you know full well with me with the Footy tips that I had them just missing the 8, and a team like that challenges more often than not. So I think they'll throw up a good fight, and if they can all click, and we know the Cats aren't all firing at the moment, it could become a danger game.
Yep. Okay. I'm not convinced, but I'll throw to Rach. Tell me
Neither
why Geelong. Tell me why Geelong's going to win, Rach.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in anyone who knows me. I rabble this off all the time, but a true testament of a team's strength is not in their top 6 players, because if you look at Gold Coast top 6, Took Miller, Matt Rowell, Ben King, Levi Casbolt, all absolute stars, but their bottom 6 are lost out there. And that's the problem, is that they have these big pieces, but nothing linking them together.
That's a good
and
point.
I think even our poor playing, or not poor playing, but our lower tier players are walking on to most other sides at the moment. And I think that's where it'll be the little pieces that tie Geelong together.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I think Cats will probably get the job done. I think it'll actually be reasonably close, a little bit too close for comfort. I think the Cats might just get a job done by about 15 points. Paul, I'm assuming you don't genuinely believe Gold Coast is going to win. So what would you?
Not at all.
What would you tip Geelong to win by in that case?
30.
30. Okay. And Rach, yourself?
I think a solid 5 goals is
5
pretty
goals,
reasonable.
yeah.
I think it'll be a hotly contested 3 quarters with Cats just putting the pedal on, probably around the 20. I'm going to say 28 points.
Okay, so similar to Paul, but a different flow of the game. Yeah.
A lot of late, a lot of junk time goals, I reckon.
Okay, all right. While we're staying on the Gold Coast theme, just to round the show out, we've got some hoops trivia, some hoops history trivia. This is very much a Gold Coast theme because we're playing them this week. So now the Geelong and the Gold Coast first played each other in round 10, 2011. Something else happened that year. I can't quite remember what else happened in 2011, but it was a memorable year. In that very first game, and this is nearest the pin, this first question, so there's no rush to hit the buzzer first or anything. Not that we have buzzers on this show. We can't afford it yet, but we'll get there one day, won't we, Paul? How many possessions did Gary Ablett Jr. have in his first game against the Cats for the Gold Coast?
Sorry, in his first game against the Cats?
So he played in the first game against the Gold Coast played against Geelong. So Gary Ablett played in that game. How many possessions did he have? Nearest the pin on this one.
32.
I'm going to go 36.
And I think this call ends in about a minute. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah.
All right, last question. Which Gold Coast player is playing their 200th game this weekend?
David Swallow?
Well done.
Oh.
One of the originals.
Yeah, I actually I looked up, I know we're on a bit of a time thing. I looked up and he was actually in their original team.
He sure was. Rach, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Paul, as always, you're a star. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get you back on again soon, Rach, for your second game. And Paul, I think, what are you up to now? 3 or 4? You're doing well. We'll get you up to your 50-game milestone before you can blink. Don't forget to check out Paul's show on Tuesday. Oscar Riccardi's on the show. I'll do a Wednesday show like I always do. Check out Rach on Twitter. I know you get some advice for the fans once a week there, Rach. I know. Oh.